Anor Londo, home of the old gods and fortress of King Gwyn, now abandoned and empty, a shell of its former self. Within, the Princess of Sunlight lies, ready to await a champion. But such a hero can only stand tall once they've contended with her guardians. A sworn knight of Gwyn and expert dragon slayer, alongside the kingdom's unquestioned executioner.
With the advent of Universes Beyond, Magic the Gathering has released cards that reflect a host of iconic, popular, and interesting franchises. In this series, we'll take a look at fan-favorite characters from different mediums and muse on what their cards may look like. In the spirit of Universes Beyond, join me today in asking the question, what if... Hello everybody! Welcome back to Magic the Gathering What If? My name is Kieran, and today we are going to keep asking the question, what if? Dark Souls. This is the series where we look at popular characters, worlds, franchises, and we ask, what if they were Magic cards? What if they were part of that Wizards of the Coast's extended universe beyond? And today we continue to look at Dark Souls, the popular game from Software that has people throwing controllers at their TVs. So, last episode we took a look at the series kind of holistically, and we dived into some of the generic cards that we would see in these Commander-esque structured decks. Quickly, we're going to go back over what this series is all about. So obviously, the series is about these cards that do not exist, that we are going to pretend exist, and, muse about what they might look like, what they might do. We're going to look at these cards that I've designed and see what you guys, the community, thinks of them. And Dark Souls fans, especially talking to you, there's a weird Venn diagram, Dark Souls and Dark Souls and Magic the Gathering. This is where I want your valuable opinion. So if you haven't done already, please leave a like, leave a comment, and let me know what you guys think of the designs. Obviously, if you were to follow us too, I wouldn't be upset, but I don't want to ask too much. I'm going to pretend that my co-host Colin is here and we are filming a regular episode of our progression series because he would give me a dirty look if I asked for too much. Now, Dark Souls. Let's just talk a little bit about Dark Souls before we get into things. Actually, funny enough, I have quite an interesting relationship with Dark Souls. I had never played the games. I'd heard all about them from friends and other gamers and, reading articles about these brutally difficult games. I tried playing them originally on the Xbox 360, and that was a bloody nightmare because it was like a 30-40 second load time between deaths, and if you played a Dark Souls game, you're gonna die a lot. Now, what got me into Dark Souls was actually Colin, my co-host of Filthy Casuals, who is not with us at the moment, but is usually, that makes it sound like he's dead. Colin is alive. He's on good authority. Colin is alive. He is off doing his soul-seeking journey, but we normally host a progression series, which you'll find on the channel, link somewhere above me. Now, me and Colin wanted to play Dark Souls together for a while and co-op the games, and so we started with Dark Souls 1, and eventually we beat it and played Dark Souls 2, then Dark Souls 3, and then From Software decided to shut down their servers right before we were finished Dark Souls 3, so that was kind of lame. We're still waiting to play some more Elden Ring, but if you want to take a look at us playing Elden Ring, go take a look at our Let's Play video, or live play video, if you will, on our channel. Again, link somewhere above my head. Now, we actually decided to play co-op Dark Souls, and I have to say it's been a blast. I've absolutely loved it. I think it allows me personally to get the Dark Souls experience without the punishment, which I know is a part of the experience, but I don't have time to be dedicating countless hours towards Dark Souls games. So me and Colin have been able to breeze through killing bosses a lot faster than normal, although we do have to fight more often than not with the actual co-op experience. They're not the most intuitive multiplayer games, but that's totally fine. We've been able to do it. The only reason I bring this up is because today we are looking at two iconic characters from Dark Souls 1, which are the notorious Ornstein and Smo, a pair of brutal bosses where you fight them at the same time, and for some people they say it's kind of the tipping point for Dark Souls when the difficulty starts to ramp up. It was actually one of the more tough bosses for me and Colin to beat. I think we took about, I don't know, it was like 7 tries per run. Again, playing co-op is a lot easier, so it was still a lot of work, and it was a very rewarding experience. I'm sure it's even more rewarding if you solo it, but it kind of started to develop these personas of ours that we ended up carrying through Dark Souls 2 and 3. You'll probably start to see some images on the screen now, but we started to develop these characters called Sornstein and O, which were obviously a play on Ornstein and Smo. And we basically took them from Dark Souls 2 all the way through Dark Souls 3, and we were Sornstein and O. That was kind of our character. We had some running gags and running lore. If you guys want more Sornstein and O videos, let me know down below. We have taken over 200 screenshots throughout the journey. I don't know why. I don't know why I'm taking these screenshots, but it's been fun. And so, yeah, there's a bit of a soft spot for me and Colin specifically in terms of Ornstein and Smo. And so today we're going to look at their cards and see what they would be like. What if Sornstein and O were in Magic the Gathering? Now, a quick little reminder, this we're not going to go into depth. If you want to know what the design philosophies are for this series, please go watch the episode before this. But basically, the gist of it is we're designing cards around the EDH Commander format, taking particular interest in the famous, larger-than-life characters in these franchises to be the legendary creatures to be the commanders for those decks. We are looking to do top-down designs, that is, looking at the characters and their themes and their story and their lore and building the designs top to bottom from that point onwards. And we're trying our very best to make it as flavorful as possible. We are also going to have some new mechanics for the set based on the franchise. So in this case, Dark Souls. We've already highlighted the Soul and Boss Soul mechanic, but we're going to see another one today. And lastly, we are going to prioritize more interesting, flavorful designs over brevity of the cards. That is to say, while I would like to make the cards as short and concise as possible, we're not going to kill ourselves trying to make it a certain amount of word count in the text box. So you might see some cards with a little bit more words and word jumble salad than others. It is more just for interesting mechanic and functionality than it is for how a real Magic card might necessarily be designed. I don't know what the kind of limits are for Wizards of the Coast game designers, but we're not really keeping that. We're prioritizing flavor and fun.
We will protect her light.
All right, Dragon Slayer Ornstein is going to be the first card we're looking at, and I just wanted to give a shout out to Juan Acosta, who's the artist for this piece. Obviously, Filthy Casuals doesn't own any rights to the art used on these cards. We just picked ones that made the cards look a little bit flashier and nice. Obviously, if you were to make these in your own MTG program, use whatever fan art you like, but I really think these art pieces really stand out, so a big shout out to him. And you can find all of the relevant art details, the links to their profiles and such that we're able to find. Sometimes some pieces don't have easily accessible links and names and such, but we put everything down in the description. But Dragon Slayer Ornstein. All right, so he is a 6-mana human knight, 3/3, 1 red, 2 white. He's Boros colors. For a legendary creature, he has First Strike and Boss Soul Ornstein. So we talked a bit about what a Boss Soul is, the actual legendary artifact that you get when one of these characters dies. We haven't really talked about how it enters the battlefield. Now, when a character says Boss Soul X, Boss Soul Y, what that means is a few things. So first off, the creature cannot be destroyed or exiled unless it's the combat phase. So this kind of represents the fact that in Dark Souls, you have to fight these bosses to beat them, or at least be in the combat phase, which is representative of a fight. So a creature cannot be destroyed or exiled while it is not the combat phase, and the opponent whose source destroys or exiles this creature, that's important, it has to be an opponent, you can't destroy your own creature. The opponent whose source destroys or exiles this creature creates a soul of blah blah blah. So in this case, it's a soul of Sornstein. See, I said Sornstein. That's a, I'm gonna have a hard time not saying Sornstein, because like I said, me and Colin were playing with these characters Sornstein and O, and I actually even went so far as to type Sornstein into the text box of the Smo card and just caught it right before filming. So I might say Sornstein a few times, apologies. Now, The opponent whose source destroys or exiles this card creates a Soul of blah. So in this case, Soul of Ornstein, a Soul of Smo, which is a legendary artifact which we went over in the last episode. So he has Boss Soul Ornstein, which is actually a downside. So Soul and Boss Soul as a mechanic is actually a way to give a card a bit more power for the mana cost that you're getting, because your opponents are going to get these artifacts which are going to be able to be used for them. And it's kind of representative of you having this creature that when it dies, it drops the souls and your opponent gets to collect them, like in Dark Souls. So Boss Soul Ornstein, 3/3 first strike. You might be thinking 3/3 first strike for 6 mana. Pretty poor, especially with a downside with like a Boss Soul. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. It has a new mechanic I designed here called United. And so United is very similar mechanically to the mechanic Partner. However, it has a few specific nuances. So in this case, Dragonslayer Ornstein has United with Executioner Smo. And on the card, it actually says what United does. So this creature cannot be cast if you control Executioner Smo. So you can't cast it if you already have a Smo, and likewise Smo, spoiler alert, has United with Dragonslayer Ornstein, and so will not be able to be cast if you have that. So it just basically makes it so you actually have to have both of them removed from the battlefield before you can play one of them. So this creature cannot be cast if you control Executioner Smo. When this creature is successfully cast, put Executioner Smo onto the battlefield from your command zone, library, or hand. Then shuffle if you searched your library this way. So basically this is like Partner, and it actually has the same background basically that Partner does, where if you have United with, you can use both as commanders. So in this case, Smo and Ornstein can be your commander, but it basically allows you to cast one of them and basically get the other one onto the battlefield for free. And so that's why it's a little bit more powerful. You're not actually paying 6 mana for just a 3/3 first strike, paying 6 mana for 3/3 first strike, Boss Soul, and the other abilities, plus you get Smo onto the battlefield from the command zone, from your hand, from the library. We put in the library and hand clauses just to, you know, make this card semi-playable in other formats, but you're generally just going to have it come in from the command zone. Now, lastly, for those who don't know, in Dark Souls, whenever you kill Ornstein or Smo, the other one gets super powered and becomes like, grows larger and gets like a bunch of new attacks and such. Now, we are going to represent that by his second ability. When Dragonslayer Ornstein dies, put a menace counter and 3/1 counters on a creature you control named Executioner Smo. So Executioner Smo goes from being a 4/5 to a 7/8 and gets menace as well as his regular trample. And now, you know, let's jump over and see what Smo has.
Until our last breath.
Smo is a 4/5 human warrior legendary creature, costs 6 mana, 2 whites, and a black, and it is worth pointing out that unlike Ornstein, Smo never became a knight, and so he is but a humble warrior. Smo has Trample and Boss Soul Smo, just like Ornstein did in terms of the Boss Soul. When Executioner Smo dies, put a double strike counter and 3/1 counters on a creature you control named Dragonslayer Ornstein. Of course, he has the United with. So these two are basically a beater Voltron-y commander, wherein you want to play one of them, get the other one, and just start like buffing them up and having them attack. They're not a very specialized commander. That is to say that mechanically speaking, they are pretty simple from, you know, the point of view where they're just kind of beat sticks that hit your opponent. But the nice thing is, because they have Boss Soul each, your opponent's going to have a little bit of a tougher time taking them out because they can only be destroyed or exiled while they are in the combat phase. So it's going to be a little bit tougher for your opponent to take out. And there's 2 bodies attached to a 6 mana casting cost, which is, you know, pretty good value. You're basically getting 7/8 worth of power and toughness for 6 mana across 2 bodies with a little bit extra upside. And even though, yes, your opponent is going to get a Boss Soul if they defeat one of these 2 behemoths, I think it is still going to be fun to try to kit them out and see if you can win through some good old-fashioned combat damage. Obviously, these are our 2 commanders for today, our 2 legendary creatures that we're highlighting. We're going to highlight 5 cards that have been designed specifically for Executioner Smo and Dragonslayer Ornstein that would be featured in their deck alongside the 5 cards that we saw in the last episode.
A brief moment of calm before the sudden storm.
Wasting no time, we see the first card. It is an instant spell, white, called Banzai Drop. Banzai Drop? Now, Banzai Drop is an attack that both the characters have in Dark Souls, and so it felt apropos to put them in their deck. So Banzai Drop is a 5-mana white instant that says Split Second. So Split Second is an ability that means that when it's on the stack, it cannot be responded to. People can't activate abilities, that sort of thing, kind of stops them from doing anything. And that's to represent the fact that your boss creature, you know, your boss, Dark Souls boss character, is doing something uninterruptible, right? You know, you've played a video game where the boss does a super attack, you can't interrupt the attack, generally speaking. So this one has Split Second. Now, target creature you control phases out. The reason why we're using phase out instead of flickering, which means to exile the creature and return it back, is specifically because Dragonslayer, Ornstein, and Executioner Smo have counters on them as part of their abilities. So they get menace counters, double strike counters, +1 counters, and so phasing out will allow them to keep those counters when they come back in, which they wouldn't get if they were to blink in and out. So target creature you control phase out. It phases in tapped at the end of the current phase to represent it coming in and doing the attack. It's tapped. When it does, deal damage to all tapped creatures target opponent controls equal to its power, or half as much to untapped creatures they control, rounded up. Then tap those creatures. So basically what's happening is Ornstein and Smo are phasing out, jumping into the air, can't be targeted, then they come back down and smash for a big AoE attack. Now, the reason we are using tapped and untapped here is because, in my mind, if we were to make the Dark Souls set a little deeper, I would probably envision a tapped creature as one that is dodge rolling and an untapped creature as one that is not. And so in this case, if you dodge roll the Banzai Drop, that is, you say the opponent has a tapped creature, it's only taking half as much damage, but untapped creatures are going to take the full power of the creature, which in the case of Executioner Smo, after Ornstein has perished, would be 7 whole damage to all of your opponent's tapped creatures, which is kind of a one-sided board wipe, but only targets one opponent. So if you're playing a big multiplayer commander game, you're going to have to think carefully as to who you want to Banzai Drop. But the nice thing is, it also taps all your opponent's creatures, which, you know, may open you up to attack with other creatures, and also will maybe protect your creature in a time of need. So for 5 mana, you'd just be able to split second save your boss monster. So I think Banzai Drop is a pretty cool card, but like all the cards we talk about, let me know in the comments section. Do you think split second is too powerful for this card? Is this something you'd like to see in real Magic? Let me know down below.
An oath fulfilled is its own reward.
All right, the next card we are going to talk about is Fearless Guardianship. So this is a Boros colored instant for 1 colorless, 1 red, and 1 white. If you control a commander, you can cast the spell without paying its mana cost. This is a shout out to a card called Fierce Guardianship, which is a highly questionable commander card that was printed in that it's a very powerful card, but this is an ode to that. So Fearless Guardianship has the same clause, whereas if you have one of your commanders, in this case Ornstein or Smo, you'll be able to cast it for free. Now, but what does it do for this free spell? You prevent all damage that would be dealt to you and permanents you control this turn. Creatures you control gain hexproof until end of turn. So this is a good way to protect your commander and protect your board. It doesn't give them indestructible like cards like Heroic Intervention would, but it's kind of this in the similar vein where, you know, maybe you're in a combat step and you're using this to protect all your creatures while they're still doing combat damage to your opponent's creatures. It gives hexproof, so if there's mass targeting, can give them protection through that. It's a bit of a versatile card, and also represents the fact that Ornstein and Smo are the guardians of Guinevere, who is the Princess of Sunlight in the Dark Souls games, and so they are her fearless guardians that will never leave her side. So that was the lore reason for all you Dark Souls fans out there. But Fearless Guardianship, I think, is a quite powerful card, and yeah, let me know down in the comment section. Do you think 3 mana is too cheap for an effect like this, or is it too expensive?
Its two-handed thrust relies on the cross and buries deep within a dragon's hide, or sends human foes flying.
All right, now we're getting into a couple of the artifact equipments. So we wanted to have some equipment sub-themes in this set because the Boss Soul artifact actually lets you search for equipment. And so, you know, if you're playing with other friends using your Dark Souls cards, you're going to want to have some juicy targets to search in case you kill one of their boss monsters and take their boss soul. Based on our 2 characters, being able to use the Soul of Ornstein, you can craft the Dragon Slayer Spear, which is a red and white Boros artifact legendary equipment. For a red and a white, you get an equipment that costs 3 to equip or 1 to equip to a legendary creature, which means that if you have your commander out, you're going to be able to equip it for pretty cheap. Now, equipped creature gains +5/+0, and Wither being it deals damage in the form of -1/-1 counters. Until end of turn, if blocked by a creature with toughness 4 or greater. This is to represent the fact that the Dragon Slayer Spear is meant to kill dragons. And so if you're fighting a creature with toughness 4 or greater, your creature is going to get +5/+0 and deal damage in the form of -1/-1 counters, which is kind of representative of the lightning effect a little bit. It was more just to make sure the damage stuck, especially if you're, fighting a bigger creature that may have more toughness than even you are able to overcome. Now, Equipped Creature also has an additional ability, because in the game, you can use this spear to shoot out some lightning. So Equipped Creature has tap a red and a white and in the creature. This creature deals 2 damage to target creature or planeswalker, or 6 damage to a creature with flying. Again, to represent your ability to take out dragons. Now, this is a pretty powerful equipment. For 2 mana and 1 equip, you get to do quite a lot, but it does have a few interesting use cases and restrictions. So obviously you want to be fighting creatures that are either flying or toughness 4 or greater. There's a lot of those out there, especially in Commander. So you also have to keep in mind that this was made for Ornstein. This is his weapon. And he starts with first strike, and he eventually will get double strike if Smo dies. So double strike +5/+0 Wither when you're fighting a creature toughness 4 or greater is nothing to laugh at. So even though it might not give him permanent stat boosts, it makes him quite a deadly adversary to your opponent's creatures.
Smo loved his work and ground the bones of his victims into his own feed, ruining his hopes of being ranked with the 4 knights.
Moving on, we have Smo's legendary hammer. Smo's hammer is a legendary artifact equipment that costs 1 white and 1 black, and in Orzhov colors to kind of pair against the red and white Dragon Slayer spear that Ornstein had. Now, similar to the spear, it has equip 3 or equip legendary creature 1. So again, if you have your commander out, it's pretty cheap. When equipped creature attacks, it gains indestructible until end of turn. This is to represent the fact that in the game, the hammer is like this huge weapon that once you start swinging it, your opponents are really going to want to dodge roll or get out of your way because it stumbles them quite easily. So kind of giving you that indestructible feel of a tank swinging their hammer. So you gain indestructible while you're attacking, and whenever a equipped creature deals combat damage to a creature, tap that creature, and it doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. This is to represent its stumbling effect. So in the game, characters have poise, and poise basically is like how much damage they can take. I'm gonna get roasted by the Dark Souls community if I'm making any mistakes in regards to the mechanics, but if a character doesn't have enough poise, or a character has a really high stumbling weapon, they can basically break their poise and make the character kind of get knocked back. And in Dark Souls, that's like a death sentence. So Smo's hammer has a ridiculous amount of stumble. Colin actually uses Smo's hammer in Dark Souls 3, and I use the spear in Dark Souls 3 for my Ornstein character. And even though Colin swings really slow, when we come up against invaders, he manages to stumble them. They're dead. There's nothing they can do about it. So the Smo's hammer, quite a powerful little beat stick, and a little bit cheap to cast as well. Also, can I just say the flavor text of this? Smo, I got this flavor text specifically for the hammer from Smo's weapon. In the game actually has this flavor text. Smo loved his work and ground the bones of his victims into his own feed. That's fucked up. He ate his victims' bones. Yeah. It ain't just his armor that's a little messy. Looks like there's a reason he didn't make it into the Knights.
Massive guardians of Anor Londo, created by Gwendolyn's illusions. Though an illusion, their strength and magic are very real.
All right, last but not least, I wanted to throw a creature in just to give a bit of variety. And so we actually have the creature, or the character, if you will, in Dark Souls that shows up right before you fight Ornstein and Smo. And that is the Royal Sentinels. They actually come in a pair of 2 in front of the Sorenstein. For the Ornstein and Smo gate where you go and fight them, there's actually 2 Royal Sentinels. And so this is a 4 colorless white and blacks for 6 mana cost illusion warrior. The reason it's an illusion is because the Royal Sentinels in the game aren't actually technically real. They are created by Gwendolyn, who is the kind of last one standing in Anor Londo. I'm not going to go too deep into the Dark Souls lore. It gets a little crazy. But basically there's an illusion over the castle. Dark Souls 1 spoilers. And if you break the illusion, the Royal Sentinels end up going away. So they are illusion warriors. And they are 5/5, so they're a little bit beefy. But for 6 mana, you're wondering what you're getting out of it. When it enters the battlefield, if it was cast from your hand, you get to create a token that's a copy of it. So this is to represent the fact you fight 2 of them in Dark Souls. They always come in a pair. Now, the reason why you now might be thinking, oh my god, 6 mana for 2 5/5 bodies. They have vigilance. It's crazy. They actually do have soul too. So Soul, I don't know if I mentioned how soul is generated in the last episode, but in case we didn't, here's a little reminder. The opponent whose source destroys or exiles this creature during the combat step specifically will create 2 soul artifact tokens, which will be able to buff their own creatures. So if you can kill the Royal Sentinel in combat, you actually get 2 artifacts to spend to buff your creatures with +1 counters. So that's kind of to offset it. So you're basically getting 2 of these Royal Sentinels, but each one is providing 2 souls to your opponent if they can kill it in combat. Now, they also have an ability, because in the game they're actually magic users and they're able to use a healing spell. And so for 1 colorless and a white, you can tap it to prevent the next 3 damage that would be dealt to target creature or player this turn, which is great because, you know, you can attack in with the vigilance. It's a 5/5, and then you can pay the 2 extra mana and prevent up to 3. So basically effectively making them toughness 8. They're, you know, pretty tough little boys. They're not little, they're actually fucking huge. But, you know, you cast 1, you get a second one, go the distance. I don't know. I think they're cool. Let me know in the comment section. What do you think? Do you think this accurately portrays Royal Sentinels? Are they too undercosted? I actually considered going to 7 mana for these guys. I was like, trying to figure out the balancing is always tricky, and I think Soul 2 offsets it enough. But yeah, let me know. All right, that is all for Ornstein and Smo. I didn't say Sorenstein. The legendary warrior pair who defend Guinevere, the Princess of Sunlight. Now, I hope you have enjoyed the cards that we showed off today. I think they're quite fun, and I'm actually really looking forward to having the chance to maybe play with them in the future. You know, maybe play with Colin or something on Cockatrice. But yeah, I think they're neat, and I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on them, especially those who fit in that weird diagram of Dark Souls, and and Magic the Gathering. But that's all we have for today's episode of What If? And today we asked the question, what if Sorenstein... Motherfucker, that wasn't even scripted. That was a total accident. Sorenstein and O! Sorenstein and O, they will always be known in my mind. What if Ornstein and Smo from Dark Souls? We here at Filthy Casuals are continuing to traverse the multiverse and ask the question, what if? And we very much hope that you will continue to traverse the multiverse with us. My name is Kieran, and today we've been asking the question, what if Dark Souls? Stick around for the next episode where we'll look at another legendary, I almost said pair of legendary creatures. It's debatable. Guess in the comments, what character do you think comes in a pair, sort of, in Dark Souls, and we'll be talking about next week. But thanks for sticking around, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.